Hello, everybody. My name's Matt, host of the But Why podcast, and welcome to the other side of the wormhole. What didn't make it in the episode, or as I like to call it, the lost thoughts of the But Why Though, the podcast. This is where we go over things. We look at each individual episode, and I get to talk, one, about what we missed, what we need to be corrected, anything that's happened, updated, any tangent of things I did. When making a podcast, ours, we try to keep between 45 minutes and an hour, but sometimes these things that we're talking about, there's no way we can fit everything in that hour in there. And so I kind of decided, let's do this to where I can talk about going more in depth about things that I want to talk about more, because obviously we have to have everybody talk, and sometimes we don't have time. And so also another thing was when I research, I end up, as I like to say, I end up down a wormhole to where I start one place and I end up in the most weirdest places looking at something completely different. Today we're going to be looking at episode 20, the NBA Matters. I'm not going to lie, when I probably researched this, I started NBA and ended up probably in the NFL. It's about how it works. We still doing sports, I believe. Today is June 5th. We will actually not be releasing this episode until June 7th. So if you are watching on Twitch TV, you get to hear kind of a sneak preview and some of the things we talk about, and I guess some more things. This particular video will not be released until a later date afterwards, because obviously I don't think you want to watch me over episode. As a reminder, as I said, this is on Twitch. There'll be live. There'll be some interactions, hopefully. There'll be some notifications. I'll be checking chat. We might not, I might stumble over my words. This will be live. This will probably be least amount of editing if possible, unless there's frame droppage or just something crazy happen. For the most part, this is what it is. This is basically how we're going. I get one chance to do this, and sometimes I feel like I fail that because I stumble over my words. But yeah, so for those of you who've never checked out the other videos, I hope you do. I've done quite a few, anywhere from DreamHack Recap to episodes, I believe it's 17, Bill Nye, 18, Sailor Moon. I just finished up, maybe not that long ago, of Stack Up, our Missions That Matter charity episode, and then now we're doing episode 20. Also have a pilot one that's basically me talking about why I decided to do this segment and why I'm on this podcast. Not how, but why I chose or wanted to be on here and enjoy doing this. So yeah, hang in there, I guess. Hopefully people listen, check them out. Not, at least check out the episodes. All our episodes can be found on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, our website, butwhythopodcast.com. Feel free to check that out. We have not only just our podcasts on there, we have a cosplay corner for people that cosplay. Quinn is our quote-unquote mascot. Our other host, Adrian, his wife, Stefani, she also cosplays, and so she'll be adding content hopefully soon when she decides to make her new one. But there are plenty of pictures of what she did at her last El Paso Comic-Con, which is also an episode, because we like to recap a lot of the conventions we go to. And yeah, we also have some blogs going on. I know Kate writes quite a few blogs. We have some miscellaneous stuff. But yeah, if you'd like to be involved, since I said this is live TV, feel free to email us at info@butwhythopodcast.com, or hit us up on any of our social medias, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, which is butwhythopc, or if you personally want to, you can at any of us. My Twitter is, as it goes across the screen right now, DATM18, DATT18. Yes, that's also my Snapchat if you really feel like looking at our dog or some other various random things. You never know what might happen. This is why we go down the wormhole. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, this will be released later. This was a huge episode. We actually had a guest on this episode by Tim, who was on our WWE wrestling episode. So he'll be guest starring to hear about that. We have a lot of content. This is actually one of our longer episodes. We saw obviously by far the longest episode I've been on. It's an hour I believe it's going to be almost a little under an hour and a half. Usually longer. We like to keep them usually about an hour. Maybe if we run over a little bit, but usually about an hour. I know some people like them shorter. I'm personally a fan of shorter ones, but I know doing so many topics, there's just so much you want to talk to, and time can definitely be of the essence. And definitely it's why I decided I really want to do this segment, because especially like this episode where I felt we could have gone on for at least another hour and a half. So who knows how long these things can usually range anywhere between good 20 minutes to an hour, or just however long, depending on how the interaction goes. People got questions, let's answer them. The more questions we have, I'm willing to answer anything, mostly hopefully about these episodes. If there's something that you happen to watch the video and you want to correct me or find something, you feel free to ask me then, and maybe I'll even revise. I like to be, as a scientist, I like to be correct, and so if I say something that's incorrect, I want to know. But make sure, at least if you're gonna try it, you better make sure you're right and get some good valid evidence. When we first started doing this, they had games, but now we decided to go with images. It makes it easier. I can maneuver a little bit and stuff, because the main thing I want to do is talk. And we're gonna have some music. This is the music we're going with tonight. I enjoy it, and it'll basically be on a loop, constantly playing. You might fight off to restart, but that's what it is. If you don't like it, sorry, too bad. It helps me think. It's soothing, especially when I'm talking. Sometimes I feel like I go down a tangent and whatnot. But yeah, so anyways, let's get, I guess we can go ahead and get started. Like I said, we're doing episode 20. It's on the list. Episode 20. Oh, I guess technically, I could just read or imaging on Word. No, because I say all this. Never mind. Tune in, I guess, is the one I'm going to say. I'm not sure what tune in is. I don't know. But yeah, we'll go ahead and start it with NBA. This is a fun episode. The NBA Finals are now being go as of today. Game 2 was just last night, because it's June 5th. Warriors are up 2-0. Whoop, whoop. Even though I'm not a Warriors fan, I am a Heat fan, a LeBron James Heat fan. I know all the people came out of the woodwork like, we love the Heat. Like, y'all don't even know who like Alonzo Mourning is. Get out of here. And obviously D-Wade left this year. Big fan of D-Wade. I liked him actually. It was great that he got there, because one, I enjoyed, because he was one of my favorite players in college. I watched him drag a Marquette team to the Final Four. They got slaughtered by Kansas, unfortunately. And then Carmelo ended up beating that Kansas team as a freshman to win the title. But he did all he could. That Marquette team, it was basically D-Wade and some people. And so when he got drafted by the Heat, it was awesome. I've enjoyed the Heat for a while, since they were basically, I believe it's 90. I keep wanting to say 93, even they joined the league, but I think it's 87. I think I'm thinking of the Marlins and the Marlins and the Rockies that joined the MLB in 1993 and whatnot. But yeah, no, I enjoyed watching Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning. I didn't enjoy when they were like the first number 1 seed to lose a series. That wasn't good. But they had some battles. Unfortunately, they had the Bull teams all through the 90s when they were good. And then they went through the whole stretch, and then LeBron kind of choked it up when we played the Mavs the second time around. Yeah. And then obviously we ran into the Spurs, which we had we won the first time, I believe it was, and then we happened to lose the second time. But yeah. But anyways, get into this. The history of basketball. We talk a little bit about the history. We briefly go over this stuff, but I guess the only thing I found was interesting was I guess I didn't even think about it, but it should have been logical if I knew basketball. So I saw it, because some people always have to like, why is everything counted as 2? And I'm like, I couldn't think about it. When I first read the research, I was like, why do the field goal always count as 2? Which all baskets are considered field goals, which is weird considering a field goal in football is like you kick a ball over the basket or in between goalpost. And then soccer, you kick under the goalpost. Yeah, but they're called field goals. I'm not 100% sure why, but I was always like, why'd they count as 2? And then I forgot, oh yeah, they added these free throws. The only other thing we didn't talk about, or I guess mention that I thought was interesting, is back in the day, if you were actually given a point, if you were a team... Oh, crap. Computer going haywire. Oh, sorry, I apologize. There we go. get this back over here. I do stream on a little computer. It was good at one time, but I bought this thing in not 1995, feels like 95, but 2012, so it's a little bit old. I've kept it updated. It runs, does a champ, but every now and then it kind of does some weird stuff on me. But anyways, it's kind of funny that they used to give you a team a point anytime 3 consecutive fouls were called on an opponent, which is kind of funny considering they have like the hack-a-shack rule. I don't know how that rule works, but you know, they have like basically the hacker thing where they just hack the big man, DeAndre Jordan, considering he can barely hit the rim on a free throw. So why not just foul and make him shoot free throws? You'll probably have a better, statistically speaking, you have a better chance of getting the ball back and not giving up 2 points and probably actually winning, which is kind of sad, but still. Yeah, they used to, back in the day, anytime 3 consecutive fouls were called on an opponent, they were given a point. I wonder if they actually instituted that now, how that would change the hack-a-shack rule and whatnot, or I guess the strat. I think it's not necessarily a hack-a-shack rule. I think they try to have a rule. I'm not 100% sure what the rule is, but I know it's more of the hack-a-shack strategy. And basically, it's basically called the hack-a-shack because back in the day, Shaquille O'Neal for the Los Angeles Lakers was not that great at shooting free throws, and so they learned that, hey, we'll just keep fouling him every time he either touches the ball or just anything and make him shoot free throws. And then it's been adopted to multiple players. I think Dwight Howard had it for a while. DeAndre Jordan, I know, is a big one on that. DeAndre Jordan. Some of these pro players like shooting basketball, I'm like, how can you not shoot a free throw? I guess it's like, I mean, wasn't never great at basketball. I wouldn't say horrible, but I mean, come on. Can't even hit 50%? You just stand there and shoot. I'm like not barely under 6 foot, and come on, I could probably shoot better free throws than DeAndre Jordan. I never understood that. I get the 3-pointer, I get the mid-range, you know, some people struggle, obviously. I get that. And, you know, maybe under the rim, try and protect the basket. And obviously, if you look at the picture on the image, Duncan is hacking the heck out of somebody. I don't know why they picked that. It looked like he fouled him. That's like Birdman, I believe. Yep. But free throws, you just stand there. There's no pressure, nothing. You can't hit 50% or barely hit 50%. Come on now. But anyways, that was pretty interesting in the history-wise. I mean, we talk about some of the mergers and how they go on and whatnot. Main thing that I enjoyed for the most part, which is sad I kind of go in here, is I talked about in the episode was this whole huge merger between what's it called, the ABA and NBA, in which basically there were 7 ABA teams and the NBA only won at 5, and the fact that the U.S. Congress and Senate had to be that started proposing bills because there's an antitrust law, that lawsuit that involved like Oscar Robertson. He's like an all-fame player, average a triple-double, like the first only person to do that, or I don't know about only, but like first time in a long time. I know Russell Westbrook did it this year, but yeah, that's about how long ago it was. What he said and why he had filed the lawsuit makes like complete sense. I get it. Basically it was to increase salaries by competition, which I guess as everybody knows I'm a gamer, I wish they would do that crap now instead of like what we get now. Because basically we have so many monopolies and people buy licensing nowadays and exclusive type stuff. It really sucks. I mean, it's funny we're talking about NBA, and basically if we actually look in the gaming world, like, sports games have died for the most part. Kind of sucks. You essentially have basically 2K for the basketball, FIFA, Madden, NHL. Yeah, I mean, I guess technically there might be a NASCAR and a golf game out there somewhere. I think Pez makes a soccer game. That's it. I remember growing up, there used to be like 10 baseball. I don't even think there's MLB The Show that's produced by Sony. That's like the only baseball game out there. I used to love baseball. There's been a lot of problems with like why I don't watch baseball anymore, but I used to love baseball games. And those have died. I don't even think there's one out on an Xbox console. And PC you might be able to find, I don't know. But basically you have MLB The Show, and it's an exclusive. NBA Live, which was made by EA Sports for NBA, that died. All college basketball games have been dead for years. NCAA lawsuit took down the freaking NCAA football game. One day we'll do an episode over that. I really have strong opinions on that one. But yeah, and then even Madden. I mean, Madden bought the licensing and took out NFL 2K. I think there was actually I don't know if it was ESPN 2K football or just ESPN football, or if it was just like NFL football 2K or whatever, or NFL 2K or whatever. I don't know. There were so many games back in the day that it was kind of hard to like figure out what was what. But yeah, crazy because of all that, the bring competition. But then they said, nah, we'll just buy a license and we don't have to worry about competition. And now games suck. No, all suck, but they're definitely not as good as what they used to be. Of course, that could be an old thing, but I mean, technology's obviously better, but they seem to have so many problems. But anyways, that thing. But yeah, no, this merger thing was crazy. I mean, except there was a lawsuit going on. They had to wait for this lawsuit to get on. Like, could the U.S. Congress and Senate been be involved? I mean, I guess for once they did something or try to do something. I don't know how much they actually do these days. But, yeah, and then, so basically what happened was they had 5 teams, or they had 7 teams, and the NBA said, we're going to take 5. No, there's 6 teams, they only going to take 4. That's what it was. I'm sorry. And then, this is also how, so they took 4, and so they ended up with the Denver Nuggets, the San Antonio Spurs, the Indiana Pacers, and at the time, the New York Nets, which ended up eventually being the New Jersey Nets, which then now are the Brooklyn Nets, which now are pretty much the trash Nets. I think they still play basketball. They have a team and a logo. I don't know if they field players. I think they just pick people out of the stands every game to play for them. They would have the number 1 pick this year, but they made this horrible trade about 3 years ago and donated to Boston. Basketball GMs are awful. They're not very good. Their job. I guess it's one of those you think about that, but there's some trades and some things that go on. People wonder, and it's very odd. Look at the Knicks, who I think Tim's favorite team, which is funny and kind of sad. They're just terribly ran, horribly done. I think for the years they were just giving away picks. Like, yeah, we'll trade something for like 4 years down the line. We might be good. Who knows? But anyways. That's how he got it. They actually had the same in St. Louis and Kentucky, who ended up folding and whatnot. And it's just funny because Kentucky was actually a decent team and whatnot, but basically the Chicago Bulls said, we ain't taking Kentucky. We don't want Kentucky. Which is weird because I guess Chicago, Kentucky, I don't know why they don't like each other. But that's basically why Kentucky folded. And then, like I said, I think I talk about this in the episode. I kind of get excited about it, but still, I'm going to go over it again. I don't care. This is the greatest financial deal in history. I don't even care how many times I tell this. If you ever have a goal in life, it's to make a deal like this. So basically, the owners, the 4 teams that are going to the NBA, basically paid $2.2 million up front to the St. Louis Spirits at the time and their owners, and then gave them 1/7 of their television revenue. Forever. Yes, forever. As they put it, in perpetuity. Forever. I don't even know if I pronounced that right. I don't even care if I pronounced it right. It means forever. Forever. And this is in the 70s. To this day, they're still making money. To this day, as of, I think I go in there, as of 2013, they've made over $300 million doing absolutely nothing. The St. Louis team has never existed. These people have never done anything but own part of this. Then they sued because the NBA league passed, saying like they should get revenue money off of that since it counts. And the league gave them $500 million right up front. That's $800 million. And you haven't done anything since 1976. Yeah, let me make sure right. 1976. That's crazy. Can you imagine that? Like, you sold something from 1976 and it's got 1/7. And then due to inflation, due to popularity rise, due to all this stuff banking, and their price is only going to go up. I mean, they probably make like, just off of 1/7 alone, like, I don't know, $20 million a year. How would you like make $20 million a year doing absolutely nothing but sit in your house watching some team play? And heck, 3 of the 4 teams suck. I mean, the Nuggets had a few good years, and they've had some exciting teams, but I don't think they've won a title anytime in the last, 30 years. The Indiana Pacers, I believe, went to... I guess Reggie Miller drug them to the finals back in the early 2000s, late 90s. They had a decent team for a while, for a few years, but the Nets, they had, I guess if you want to call it a cool team, and they sacrificed their entire future to bring in 3 old guys. And then, I guess Jason Kidd drug them to the back-to-back finals, which they got stomped in. But that was about it. The Spurs, obviously, everybody knows about the Spurs. Which is funny because Kate loves the Spurs, and I have a feeling, though, he's not basically Duncan fans, but they're still good. But that organization, it's very well ran, but once Pop leaves, it's going to be interesting to see what happened to them. I'm not saying it's not a thing, but it's not a big market. And, I guess people don't care about markets now, but I've been to San Antonio. I don't like San Antonio. I don't know what they're going to... I just don't know. I guess they're going to get free agents, I guess, and people like it because of their organization. But it's going to be interesting to see, when Pop leaves, are people still going to want to show up? Not necessarily the fans, but, free agents. I guess right now there's, rumors as of June 5th that Chris Paul might come here, but which is cool. But, he's probably he's in his 30s, so he's probably, probably early 30s, so he probably only got maybe, 4 good years in him. I guess that's cool, but yeah, we'll see. Let's see what happens. No, I will always touch on that financial deal. I think it's the greatest thing ever. Definitely something that is... It's funny because it's never... I guess it's never really mentioned that much. Obviously, people that know the NBA... I'm sure people that know the NBA know this, but... I guess my other host, they didn't they knew about the merger, but they didn't know about this per se. And I guess this financial thing is just crazy. So if you can ever find somebody... Of course, the NBA with that is still kind of stupid, because right now we have, Mike Brown, who's coaching the Warriors because Steve Kerr's hurt. He's still being paid by the Cavaliers. The NBA, when it comes to money, especially the fact that they get guaranteed contracts, is I hate the fact that the NBA gets guaranteed contracts. I guess because I watch NFL players who probably put their body through 3 times worth of stuff, and they don't get guaranteed contracts. And then the NBA, the way they flip things so bad, where I watched I think 10 years ago, Ben Wallace signs with the Bulls for 80 mil, and then literally by midseason they're trying to trade him. It happens all the time. The spending of money is so bad. Oh, look at you, you're gonna play 15 minutes a game? Here's 15 million. Thanks for those 3 rebounds and maybe a half a free throw. Why? I guess I try to get it, but the way... it has... I guess I want to say it has gotten a little better over the years, especially considering they started putting stuff, but for a while there, it was you actually had to save players or save teams from themselves. And that's not the way things work. NBA is also the only thing where it's kind of almost the most anti-business thing, and it's almost... which is weird since we've been talking about financial deals, where the 76ers basically said, hey fans... And they're going in their strategy, which you propose to your boss, I'm going to make us suck as bad as humanly possible for 4 years. So we're going to win 5 games a year for 4 years. But don't worry, we're going to get a bunch of picks for it and assets. And then we hopefully will be good as long as we draft okay. That is the worst business model ever. I don't know. It's only in sports does that model work, where losing and being awful is the best way to get better. I guess if you ran a restaurant, oh yeah, guys, I'm gonna buy this restaurant, but by the way, I'm gonna suck all of it out of it. I want nobody to show up for 4 years and tank every single possible thing. Of course, people are still stupid and they buy tickets anyways, but don't worry, we're gonna suck. This restaurant's gonna be horrible. Our food might be can't even pass the health code. But don't worry, in 5 years, Michelin star, maybe, depending on if nobody gets hurt. I guess they're okay now, but they play in the East, which is awful as well, which has been awful for 10 years. Actually, longer than that, almost 20 years. the difference between conferences in the NBA been like pretty bad over a while. But yeah, we'll get into some of that later. I'm trying to like move forward a little bit of stuff. We talk about we kind of move on to the whole after the merger, because I think I really like the merger. We kind of move on to like, you know, the diversity of going to the get Gordon to come in and say, somebody wants Gordon Ramsay to come in and say, by the way, that is a great show. I don't even know if they still have that. I don't even know which one that's called. I think it's not Hell's Kitchen. Is that Kitchen Nightmares, I believe? Is that what it is? Now I'm gonna have to look this up or find out. So I have to look. Leaving day, this. Yes, Kitchen Nightmares. So yeah, we definitely need Gordon Ramsay to come in here and probably save some of the teams. He would definitely straighten out some of the GMs. But yeah, that's kind of whatnot. So hold on, I have an. Sorry, I had a work email. I apologize. I said this is Twitch, so we have to kind of work what we gotta do. Anyways, yeah, but anyways, get some people coming out, do some stuff, and yeah, that's a weird way to run a business or even a model. I don't understand why it works in sports, but the sad part is in sports, especially the NBA, is, I guess, NBA, I don't know more so in the NFL how much, but the goal is either you need to be really, really good or really, really bad. And that's kind of true when you look at the drafting of players, how it works. So, like, basically, when it comes to, basically you only have a roster, it's only usually 12 to 15 players that you carry. And so obviously percentage of players 1 in 5 start, so having one great player makes up 20% of your starting roster, so the percentage that they can make more impact is greater than per se like the NFL or something like that, where there's like 53 players, and even if not, you have 22 starters between offense and defense, and not including whatever starters you want to include for special teams. Obviously quarterbacks in some positions more valued than others, just like in basketball. But either way, you have you can make more impact for only having 5 starters. So when it comes to draft time, getting somebody that's for sure like an all-star is much more crucial. Plus the draft, the way the draft works. So like you have to do. Hold on. Yeah, so we're getting a little drop frames. My dog kind of ran in here a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty much. Yes, we're part of that video, the little dog that ran in here. Except that kid came in there while I'm trying to do an interview. She's struggling to get out of there. She is definitely struggling. She's kicking and screaming. I apologize, even though this is kind of entertaining watching this dog try to struggle for its life. But this is what we have, though. This is another reason why, I mean, I guess not per se the per reason, but like doing this, because there will be, unfortunately, things going on. Like when we record this, when we record each episode, it's kind of like you get the finished product. It's nice and polished, and it's nicely polished. It's been edited. We have great editor, like I said before, and probably multiple of these. You get some sound effects, you hear everything, it runs smoothly. Not saying that's not how it always starts, but I mean, sometimes it can be a little rough around the edges, especially depending on what we're doing, how we're talking, and sometimes communication. But doing this, this is what we got. Unfortunately, the dog ran and came try to attack me. Well, didn't attack me, but just wanted to say something. So now when you watch this video, that's what we have. And I like that. And so, I mean, I don't feel like that, but you know, that's what happens. We may or may not edit that out. I don't know yet. Depends. I like it. I enjoy that dog struggle. It was funny. But anyways, we'll get back to what I'm talking about. NBA. See, that's another thing. I like this being more of a relaxed setting. Like, obviously, we have the nice, soothing music and whatnot. But yeah, so it's more soothing music than. So it's not like strict great thing. Like I said, we have interaction. We have people talking. You know, have fun. We're doing stuff. But yeah. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Players and statistical drafts. So the draft, basically, NBA draft's a little weird. I'm not saying players don't become all-stars, but it seems to be a lot more base where they can, I don't know if the scouting per se better than other sports or not, but it's one of those, like, they kind of know who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. And not saying they're not even gonna, I guess they kind of have like the potential, it seems to be better. And that's not necessarily true because there are people who are bad. I mean, are, you know, bust all the time. Bust seems to have quite a bit. I guess it depends on the percentages. I'd have to look all those up compared to other sports. But basically, your number one pick, depending on the year, usually you're surefire. Even top 3, surefire. That's what you aim for. But 1 or 2, and even some years you're like, I got the number 2 pick. This sucks. I think actually I can think back to the Chicago when they got Derrick Rose. It was between Derrick Rose and I can't even think what the heck his name is now. Michael Beasley. There we go. Beasley was awesome in college. Derrick Rose, part of that team that choked away the freaking national title because they can't make a damn free throw. But at Memphis, I guess that actually doesn't count because it's vacated because John Calipari is great at that. Waiting for the Kentucky teams all get vacated eventually. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be hilarious. But anyways, Beasley, you knew he was great, but it's funny because like Miami got the 2nd pick, and you're like, oh, Michael Beasley, great, whatever, blah blah. They didn't want him, but they knew they had to take him based on talent, and that's the weirdest thing also, because that just happens so much in basketball. It seems like where they're like teams that just like, I really don't want this player. I wish I could have somebody else and trade down, but I just know from a talent standpoint, I have to take him. I mean, that was kind of like with DeMarcus Cousins. He ended up kind of, quote, free falling, I guess. Like, I think he got drafted in the 11th by the Kings or maybe 9th or something like that. But it was kind of like, he's crazy, but we have to take him because he's so talented. He's obviously gotten better, and he does not as many crazy things as he used to. But that happened. It seems to happen quite a bit where the teams are just like, we're going to take you, Michael Beasley, because you're clearly the number 2 player in the draft. You're clearly a lot better than everybody else. But we really don't want you. Or not that we don't want you, but we don't want to draft you. Too many problems. You go to drug test right before the draft or something. Better check that one up. I need to fact check on that one, make sure. But I know they had problems with that. And obviously, it's fine. I guess the funny thing is, he really didn't do much in the league either. He had a few decent years, and compared to Derrick Rose, I guess his career's been a little, because of stuff. But yeah, but just like, they seem to have that as well. They have a lot of bust stuff. And then I think it just depends on the years that come out, because you have years like Kevin Durant, Greg Oden come out, same thing happened, even though I wonder, how do you pass on, Kevin Durant? But I mean, but then the first 2 picks are big. It also kind of sucks because depending on who comes out that year, I guess. Because you have, obviously you have Greg Oden, Kevin Durant 1 year, Derrick Rose, we have a LeBron 1 year, Dwight Howard, much as he's whatever now, but he was a great player for a while. I mean, but then you have years like the poor Raptors who had to get Bargnani, or I don't even know what the heck his name is. That was like gross. And then you had, even as bad as it was, I believe it was the Bucks that got stuck with Andrew Bogut, which is good, but definitely not really number 1 type numbers. But yeah, it's kind of like a drop. Of course, that's how it is with everything. That's why I hate the Colts in football, because they literally tanked it 1 year in the last 2 decades after almost a decade and a half because of Peyton Manning, and then guess what? the year they tank it, they get Andrew Luck, which I still think is kind of somewhat overrated, but still overall compared to like 90% of the quarterbacks, you take Andrew Luck. And you're like, really? The 1 year? You couldn't end up with like, I don't know, like Alex Smith or something like that? You couldn't end up with some like, I don't even know who we even took this past year. Or like a defensive end. You had to get Andrew Luck. But anyways, yeah, so just the percentage of like what they do with drafting, it seems to be like within the first like lottery, the first 3 picks usually have, they're like depth draft. I mean, by the 9th pick in the draft, they're like, this person could potentially be a starter. She looks to be a starter, but that's it. I'm not saying people don't exceed those expectations but I mean, you're looking for a starter. By like the 12th pick, 13th pick, you're looking for like a rotational player. I mean, by the 2nd round, you don't even think half those players even make the team. And it's like, that's 2nd round. And like the NFL or even Major League Baseball is a little different. They got a lot of rounds. But like the NFL, like the 2nd round, you're like, I'm finding me a Drew Brees. And there, I'm finding me like a, not the LT, but we're finding some, can't even think. I'll say, but there's been plenty of 2nd rounders, and I can't think off the top of my head of all the good 2nd rounders. But yeah, like Drew Brees is probably my best example. Like, you're finding quarterbacks that were in the 2nd round. You're looking for starters in the 2nd round. That's when we're starting to look at starters. Not the first 13 picks and we're done. I mean, NFL top 10 picks, you're looking for game changers. NBA, you're looking for first 3 picks, game changers, maybe 5 picks or like that. After that, you're like, we want a starter to a decent, maybe above average. Plus, it's also entertaining when they talk about all this stuff when it comes to draft. You have like wingspan. Everybody's in bird all of a sudden. He's got the wingspan of an albatross. Very interesting. But anyways, keep going. As far as the episode goes, we start talking about I guess I was also like staring at percentage because they talked about the percentage of like, I guess, ethnicities of players in the NBA and how it's 74.4% black. And so that leads us into like the dress code and Donald Sterling conversation. I don't know how much I'll go into that stuff. We talk about it. We hit it pretty decently in the thing. Obviously there can be, I mean, we could sit here and talk about and debate some of those stuff quite a bit, but I guess to sit here and like rehash or whatnot. It's kind of, the dress code definitely was a shot. I didn't like it. I thought some of the players did wear some funky stuff, especially some of them people showing up in pajamas and everything, but who cares for the most part. And so, yeah. But Tim does a pretty good job in the episode going over the dress code and definitely hits it home. Adrian comes in there too. They definitely give good reasons and validation, especially with Donald Sterling. He's a terrible person, which seemed to be leading to a more common theme, or maybe not theme, I don't know, thing. Like, I guess the guy from Fox News just died as well. He had like 7, I lost count of how many sexual harassment cases against him, or allegations and lawsuits and whatnot. He ended up having, the sad part was, it was this giant like thing of like parade around, like, oh yeah, Fox News or Fox thing, he made a thing, like. But they kind of forgot out that they basically had to force him to retire and leave because of all the allegations. And so it's like, oh, you guys kindly forgot that? Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. So we probably won't get too much into that. I guess if you really want to know specifics on more what I think about some of those, we hit them in the episode. So I kind of listen to that. Want to, you can at me on my Twitter or hit me up somehow. And either on the website or just our Twitter or something, if you have specifics and if you want to know my opinion. Also, another thing I kind of want to say, as much as I'm doing this and kind of like me talking, if you do have stuff for like our other host, I can drag them on here. Maybe not necessarily like right this moment, but I'll drag them on here and it'll make them answer your questions or make them answer what their thoughts are on some of the stuff. So as much as this is like me and my thoughts and I guess some of the stuff, I like to do the correcting and kind of follow through the episode. But yeah, if you want to ask, I mean, I'm sure people do it all the time. I guess I'm sure with our main creator, Kate, and I think Adrian a little bit. If you care to know what they think about this, or even if you watch this and you hear me say something and you're like, and want to know how they feel about what I say, because obviously they're not here and I don't even know how much they'll actually watch these. that you can add them as well on their Twitters and thing. I think Kate's is Oh My Miss Grandier. Hit him up on the But Why Though podcast Twitter. Adrian Super Reed 93 and whatnot. But yeah, so there, much as it's me, make sure let everybody remember that there's also other people involved in this. But I do enjoy doing this, so this has kind of been my thing. I came up with the title. I'm taking responsibility. I like the wormhole thing and whatnot. So keep going, moving on. That we talk about the a little bit about this, how teams have embraced the culture of city, which is great compared to other sports. There's some shade we definitely throw at the NFL in this episode. I think it's hilarious because NFL definitely deserves it, and they wear me out. I don't want to say hate, but I dislike Roger Goodell and the way he does things. I think he's a joke for a lot of times, but the NBA ain't done a lot better than most other sports in embracing the culture of their cities, of the sport. They've been, I guess you want to say, even adapting better than a lot of the sports of like moving forward. Like baseball has not done shit. Excuse my French, or whatever. But I used to love baseball. Baseball now, not that I can't stand it, but I still enjoy the sport. Like, I think just now I think people hate Bryce Harper. I don't necessarily think I think he can be very cocky sometimes and arrogant, but some of the points that he's going after, I kind of think that people need to go on with baseball. These unwritten rules of baseball need to die, at least in my opinion. I get why people like them, I get the whole thing, but come on. They haven't changed anything, and unfortunately, that's why, they're going to throw out all these numbers. It's like $8 to go to a ball game. Of course, people are going to show up and take a family. Compared to a football game where, for me and Kate to go to a football game with parking and everything, probably cost me like half my life savings and part of my kidney. But to go to a baseball game, I could probably get on an all-I-can-eat buffet for two, like $20 plus a ball game. Why not? Plus, there's like 162 of them. Why not as well? But the baseball versus NBA thing, it's crazy because for a long time NBA was very lagging. They've had some problems, and I've also not liked how they've kind of trended somewhat too. And they've gone, I think, not so much more. I don't really care about the super teams, quote unquote super teams. You can say what you want. It's been happening for a while. Houston did it back in a while. When Clyde Drexler and him joined, against Jordan, whatever, people bring that up. The Celtics were a dynasty. By the way, there is no parity in basketball besides, I guess the last 10 years, but besides that, been 6 teams every year. The Spurs have been in the playoffs every year. The Lakers will probably be back. The Celtics are now the number 1 seed. They get the first overall pick. They've been like that a few down years. It's been the Spurs have been there. You're going to have the same teams that won everything. I think they had it for a while. I think it was the 2000s, what it was. I think it was the Spurs and I think the Lakers that combined for that played for the West 9 years out of them. I think out of all those, really parity. I guess that's why they talk about expansions and all this other stuff between mergers and even possibly new expansions of a team, which we talked about in the episode. I just don't care. There's so many bad teams. The East is awful. The East has been awful for 20 years. I guess they're improving, cool, but if I'm in the West, the A seed in the West makes the 4th seed, 5th seed in the East every year. And to think about that's the difference. If you just want to compare teams, the difference between playing the Warriors versus playing the sad part, you'd be playing the Clippers. But it's like playing the Warriors or playing the Cavs versus playing the Raptors. You can't tell the difference. Yeah, there's clearly some problems there. It's me. But I guess I kind of went on a tangent there between that as I went from culture to city. We did talk about a little bit. Apparently they didn't know. Apparently I'm the only person that knew that, because I don't know how people watch college basketball besides everybody that bets on college basketball. But by the way, This whole gambling thing wears me out as well. Another tangent. We can go grind my gears because, like, the NFL is like, we're anti-gambling stuff, even though we're about to put a team in Vegas, and we run fantasy football, which is basically the fancy word of saying we gamble. I think they talked about, I think Tim or them said that Adam Silver more embraced gambling. I don't know why. It's kind of technically legal / not illegal, depending on where you are. Actually, gambling in the U.S. wears me out because I can gamble, like, in Oklahoma, and then if I drive to another part, I can't gamble, but I can gamble in Louisiana. But if I drive to Texas, I can't gamble, and it's frowned upon. Like, make up your mind. New Jersey, I think, is another one, or New York. And then, like, Utah's, like, anti-everything. Utah, you basically go there to die, I guess, because you're not allowed to do anything else. But it's... the gambling thing wears me out. Not even going with other stuff, but just, like... it tries to not to be like this thing, but fantasy sports in general is huge. It makes billions of dollars a year. It's the same thing as gambling. You can put it however you want. You can spin it however you want. It's gambling. I mean, I'm sure there takes a little more skill than some gambling, like pulling a lever for a slot machine. But it's still based on your not control. You can run all the statistical analysis and make algorithm programs all you want. Doesn't mean it'll happen. I played fantasy. I love fantasy. I don't care about thing. Heck, the one game Carolina Panthers happened to lose and Cam Newton sucked. Happened to be the fantasy football championship. Lost it. Cam Newton let me down. That's how it works. They go 15-1. Championship happened to be on that one day. I can run every analysis you want. I mean, that's how it goes. But yeah. I don't know how I got into gambling. But we could gamble our way away. But we'll go through the next thing. Moving on. Moving through. Oh, we talked about, we didn't really start running out of time at this time, so we kind of went through. So I kind of want to go through these topics at the end. We didn't really rush, but you know, we kind of had to cut quite a bit because I mean it was a long episode. They talked about the 70s was a mess. We didn't really get to mention that, and I guess the range thing that wasn't mentioned was drugs ended up becoming a horrible thing. Of course, this was in the 80s, like early 80s, at the NBA Drug Act in 1983. But when Bias's death basically ended the Celtics era, I think this was in 86, I believe is right, when he died. So essentially, it was Larry Bird, who was getting older and like kind of a little past his prime, but still probably 30 or something like that. And I think Bill Walton and them were pretty much done. You know, about done, you know, last end of the tail career of like a lot of the players, so kind of just Bird and whatnot. And basically, we drafted Bias, I think it was the second pick or something out of Maryland, and essentially died the next day of an overdose. And one, it was tragic from the sense that he was a great player in college, dominant, and everything else. Two, I didn't even look up how the Celtics got this draft pick, I guess. But I mean, it's been kind of known as this end of the Celtic, I guess, run. Not necessarily dynasty, because it's kind of hard to say they were a dynasty between them and the Magic, or not the Magic, I say Magic, but Magic Johnson's Lakers. They kind of played each other, and I think the Lakers ended up winning more than Bird. But I mean, they still won about 3 titles. But basically, it was set up to where Bird and Bias could have grown together, and Bird would have basically handed the torch off to Bias, but unfortunate death and circumstances. They had a lot of problems with the drugs. I mean, not just, I guess the NBA was bad, but I mean, it wasn't just the NBA, it was all over America in the 80s, between cocaine and everything else. But we didn't really get to touch on that, but that's definitely what, and I guess the thing besides that was the Magic Johnson Larry Bird that brought competition and rivalry back to the NBA. Yeah, because the NBA was kind of dying for a while, and they weren't sure. And it was crazy, because I believe they met in the NCAA finals as well. Because Larry Bird went to Indiana State, and then Matt Johnson to Michigan State. The Spartans. And they actually met in the NCAA finals, and then obviously I think they met in at least 5 NBA finals? Maybe 6? I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, so they kind of brought the game back. They also had some crazy offenses in the 80s, which I don't know if we talked about. They knew. Teams start scoring like crazy amounts of points. I think the Nuggets ran some crazy maybe even the Warriors, but the Nuggets, they were like averaging like 130 points a game or some crazy thing. They didn't even bother to play defense. So there was kind of some crazy excitement. Of course, funny thing is now they kind of went to defense, and then they kind of brought their way back up to where they are now. Which is kind of like, which we get into, I guess, when we move forward to the go thing of how things work. But yeah, globalization we didn't get to talk about as much either. Like how the NBA turned into a globalized game. And one, it's been not only just between the NBA stars that have come over from different countries and the Olympic type thing, which actually the Olympics have been more competitive for the USA team than it was in recent years. Obviously, maybe not so much, but better. I mean, I guess I'm losing by 40 into the 60. But I think the NBA is like just super popular around the world, and they've actually succeeded at that. Like, they're global. And I mean, the funny thing, as much as NBA stars go to a thing, so many NBA stars, when they get to the tail end of their careers, they go to China. Like, Stephon Marbury was a all-star, like, MVP, like, legend in China, I believe. Starberry rocked it up, I think, and whatnot. And they give good money. I mean, not great money compared to NBA money, but I mean, playing China is crazy. You're like a legend over there. You're a star. But it's funny because they've actually succeeded at that. The NFLs keep trying and keep sending crappy teams over there, and don't really care, it seems like. Of course, I guess if I had to watch the Jaguars once a year, I wouldn't care either. But yeah, the NBA's really succeeded at globalization for the most. I mean, I'm sure there's still other things they could do and whatnot. But yeah, there's regular season games overseas, preseason game. Baseball tried it for a while, and they've been trying to succeed. They've done that one wearing out where they do like the soft opening, like first regular season, usually like some other country, and then usually then they have opening day. It's weird too because they do it and they play like 3 games, and like a week later then it's opening day, so it's like the teams already had 3 days of games to play. I don't know, but yeah, the NBA has done it. But like I said, not only that, between them coming here, like we talked about Hakeem Olajuwon, Dirk, and Yao Ming, but just like I said, there's players that actually go overseas to play and really good. Either from college, like good college stars that just weren't good in the NBA, because the transition and difference period, or the transition from college to the NBA, seems to be a very like solid thing, because there's a lot of like great college basketball players that just not even like they just were drafted and busted. They were like just weren't even thought of. I think one of them I really think of is Scotty Reynolds, I believe is his name, for Villanova. I think Villanova. They were like a really good team for a while. I want to say Villanova. Might have been Georgetown. But Villanova, they were like top 5. Did great for a few years. I don't think it was when they obviously was before they won their title and whatnot. I think they choked in the tournament. Villanova tends to do. But yeah, he was like all senior, you know, like all American, this and that. I don't even remember if he got drafted. I'm sure he did, but like late. But they go on overseas. I think the interesting concept, which I think the one and done rule kind of took away, not per se, but kind of the Brandon Jennings formula for what they did. I think there was one other player that did it. I don't remember what his name was. But Brandon Jennings only seed where instead of going to college, you go overseas for a year, play on a professional team, learn a pro, and get paid, and then come back over and get drafted. It was thought about for a while. I think now that the one in, I mean, that was I don't see. I think it should have been utilized more, I guess. But then again, I can go to college and, you know, take a bunch of dumb classes for like take 12 hours of like stupid stuff as a freshman and pass those and not even show up the next semester. Nobody's gonna care. Which also leads to the next point that I've been wanting to say. Those people at UT that basically had to retire Kevin Durant jersey, I hate. I think it's an embarrassment. You retired a guy's jersey who was basically there for a semester to play 1 year in which you basically made it to the second round. At least with Carmelo, he like won a title and a championship. Kevin Durant, what'd you do? You played 1 year? And that part is a great player, but I just think the fact they retired a jersey is a joke. Like, don't give me great college basketball players. You were a one and done. I don't care if he came back 10 years later and finally got his degree or whatever. That's cool, but don't give me this whole, like, we're going to retire your number because you played 1 year. You retire numbers like when as sad as it, Jordan played 3 years at Carolina and won a championship. At least Melo won a title at Syracuse. Tyler Hansborough at North Carolina. I mean, what was it? Jameer Nelson, I believe it was, at Oklahoma State, played for I think it was not Oklahoma State. I think it was St. John's, played for 4 years. But I mean, people that played at least 3 years, you went deep into a title. You showed up. Yeah, I think you might have won Player of the Year, which is great. He's a great player. He still is a great player now. I mean, it looks like he's 2 games away from winning his first NBA title. But to retire in Jersey and all these people that claim him, we were at UT, well, get out of here. Get out of here. 1 year, he probably pulled a Derrick Rose. He probably had better personality than Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose, if anybody didn't know, for the most part, pretty much. There's been a few other players that did it where basically, like I said, you literally just have to pass your fall semester classes, and then you're basically do not have to show up for spring to play college basketball for 1 year. So I could take PE, Intro to College, English 1, I guess depending on where you take that, whether it be North Carolina or Auburn, they'll write your essays for you. And then you're pretty much done. Yeah. Cool. Moving on. Yeah. No, not a fan of the retirement in jerseys with Kevin Durant. Or necessarily the one and done rule. We didn't get to talk about that. I wish we could have. I guess that was another thing I wanted to talk about. I guess that was kind of under the controversy thing, so we didn't get changes. But the NBA changing the rule from high school player to where they have this one and done rule, which I think is just makes it a joke. I've been saying for years, I'm a fan of the college baseball rule. To where college baseball and MLB, they give you an option. If you want to get drafted and come out of high school and go straight there, we'll draft you and you can go. But if you're going to go to college, you're going to stay at least 3 years. And I mean, some people complain, do whatever. I think it's fair. We'll let you go when you're early. That's fine. But if you're going, you shouldn't make a mockery of universities. Maybe because I've been in school and universities all the time. University and education, I get the whole point, but it's kind of I know people argue, oh, they're there to do this. That's cool. Go to NBA now. I know the reason they made the rule, I believe, was because there's a lot, because basically they had so many high school players coming out, and teams were the product started, product is in the actual playing competition, dropped because teams were so we're getting all these talented players, but they don't know how to play. Because they hadn't been coached. They hadn't been, dang, you're basically giving 17-year-olds, I don't know, $30 million, 18-year-olds, $20 million. I think they said Kobe Bryant couldn't even legally sign his first contract. Yeah, I mean, everybody's cool, we'll find that Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard, but for all those, you have so many players that none of you have ever heard of. I believe J.R. Smith is in high school. That's why he's still playing, and he's been around the league for, I don't know. I think he's been in the league longer than freaking LeBron. Not even 100% sure, but he's been there forever. But no, that was the reason the product was slipping, and teams were just I shouldn't have to draft somebody. I mean, not that they don't want to coach, but that's just what happens, I mean, when you draft these players, you're I want the superstar at number 2 pick. I don't want somebody to have to go coach up, and that's just a waste of money, I don't know. I like the baseball rule. It gives you freedom of choice to where if you want to go from there, you can go. But if you're going to go to college, then you at least have to abide by the rule for 3 years. I just think it's kind of fair. We're allowing you, if you feel you're good enough to go right away, you're good. But if you're going to go, you just don't make a mockery of this. Like I said, there's so many players. I'm sure there's a lot of players that did the whole year. We did the whole college thing. Cool, whatever, and it's helped a lot of players, but whatever. Derrick Rose didn't do shit the whole second semester. Heck, we didn't even know if he took his SAT. Yeah, so then we talk about let's see, I've already been going on here for probably a little about an hour on this one, so I probably have to I feel like I'm gonna have to goot this one up again. I might have to hit this one again, just because there's so many things I could probably talk about, but I'm just kind of flowing with the way the episodes end up going. Just want to put in there, Jordan retirement, really about gambling problem, totally agree for it. The fact that the Kobe sexual assault case just basically gets thrown under the bus and rug, and people act like it never exists, and he changed his number and they're going to pay him $136 million. Pretty weak. Kind of hard to judge that, but people forget about that. Short-term memory. Him and Ray Lewis, I'd never understand. I know Ray Lewis wasn't convicted of anything, but did you murder somebody? Kind of close. Yeah. No tolerance rule we didn't really get to hit. That cost basically possibly the Suns a title. Because basically Amari Stoudemire, by the way, talk about, I think he came out of high school and pulled out his knee. He came out of high school as well, I believe. So good. But, man, talk about somebody, whew, great perennial all-star, great upward trend career. I'm not even going to put on the money, just went to New York and just, they ran him so ragged. Even Sun did. Yeah. So yeah, well, I could be talking about this for another few hours, but I've already gone for about an hour or so, and I don't want to like everybody to listen, you know. I want you to be able to have time to like listen, or if you have any questions about this one, feel free. I might come back and do another segment, just like part 2 of it. I might even try to bring in somebody to do one with me, just because, except this is something we could talk about for a while. This episode, we want to hit why they mattered. So we talk about, you know, the charities, you know, the embracing of culture, you know, some of the controversies with the race issues that they've had to deal with, the NBA and a lot of the players and whatnot. So we obviously get our butt why those and why it's important in popularity. But as far as some of the other stuff, just talking NBA in general, especially with the finals going on, it's definitely something that we can still go on. In any sports in general. I think we've now embraced, at least from a podcast standpoint, embraced sports, so we're still going. That's there. What is the no tolerance rule? Okay, so the no tolerance rule, basically, they made a little box that stated if anybody moved outside this box for any reason, that you would be suspended 1 game. And that was kind of like the no tolerance rule. And I think there was also part of that, I know that was part of it, I think I'm not sure if, that was part of what I'm talking about. There's also another, I'm not sure if it's a no tolerance rule or something else that kind of conjects with that, is if you complained or something. I think this is a different rule. I think that might have been in flagrant foul calling, like even showing emotion for a while, and being like if you showed emotion they were just going to tee you up, which means technical foul. But the no tolerance rule, from my understanding, the one at least I'm interpreting and talking about, is the one where they have these boxes because they were tired of people coming off the benches, because after the Detroit Malice and the Palace, which actually I didn't get to put in the episode, but I want to say I actually was able to watch that game live. It was happened to be one of those nights where there was nothing on, and I just happened to be watching NBA back when I watched, I guess, more NBA and had TV, and I watched that live, and it was insane. That was insane. And as bad as it was for the NBA, and as bad as everything turned out, and Ron Artest and Steven Jackson, I felt bad. I kind of, at some point, I did feel bad for Ron Artest, because the guy, well, I mean, he's not that he's a little crazy, obviously. His name's now Meta World Peace at the time, obviously, but he was sitting there and gets hit by a beer. And I guess from my standpoint, it's hard because I'm like, they kind of went away, and I don't know how much they've done it so much and how much fan accountability has been awful in the last like 10 years, maybe even 5 years, probably more 10 years. I think they've worked to get it better, but fan accountability has been terrible, where fans can yell whatever they want. I mean, and it's like, we paid for the games, and we get you can yell, and you can yell you're a bum, you suck, whatever, but it's been like, there's been so many derogatory terms, like, I hate your mother, you know, like, college basketball is a great example of sometimes it goes overboard. I mean, like I said, people throw beer all the time. Then they have like the stuff in baseball where people just kill each other over fights. College football, which we didn't talk about, which go there. Crazy. Those people are insane. People die. They're probably, we could probably Google so many deaths due to like either fan attacking another fan from just rival teams in college football. It's insane. But no, like Ron Artest was sitting there and got hit by a beer. He probably got hit by multiple beers. And yeah, it's not good for what he did, and I get it. But I guess I try to also put my shoes in myself. If I'm sitting there playing my game, I'm playing this game is hard, I am tired, it's competitive to the next level. I get hit by a beer by some jackass? Like, come on. I don't even know if I could keep my cool in some of the situations. Like, people that do are amazing. Because, I mean, I try, but it's absurd. People throw gum, they throw beer, alcohol, drink stuff. It's some of the most horrible things ever for some of the athletes. And I think some of the fights that they've gotten, obviously not lately, this is probably more like 5 years ago stuff, because obviously they've had to do the whole thing. It's pretty bad. By the way, if we can find a video, if you're ever interested in video, go watch baseball. Some guy charges the field, starts attacking, I believe, a first base coach, and the team just beats him and puts him in the hospital. Nobody came to help that guy. He just randomly jumped on the field and started attacking somebody. And the team let him know that is not a good idea. I mean, the streakers, I actually went to a football game and I saw a streaker. I mean, distracting, it's like, what the heck? But then again, watching a football game live sucks and it's awful. There's so many commercials. Heck, you think it's bad on TV? Try being there live. And it's like hot, and there's people all around, and people are just yelling, and the people are drunk because it's so bad. It sucks. I mean, I guess it's a great experience. You try it and fun team, but it's definitely not worth the money, at least in my opinion. I guess I keep saying that, and I want to go because I enjoy football, but so much. But yeah, but anyway, sorry, back to the total tolerance rule. So basically they had a between the Spurs and the Suns, 2000 and whatever. Steve Nash was back-to-back MVPs, maybe even triple MVPs or whatnot. I don't know if he deserved all of them, but anyways, essentially they had a crucial game. Robert Horry basically hockey checked Steve Nash into the bench, or like the, I guess, the press or the concession or announcer stand or whatever. And everybody stood up. Tim Duncan did something as well, move thing, and basically players got up, kind of like got ready to come out because he just watched, Amari Stoudemire, and I don't remember the other person that did it. There was one other person that was on that team. I keep on saying Danny Manning, but that's not even close. I feel like it's somebody else. Sean Marion, that's what it was, I believe. But I don't know if he got suspended too. But anyways, 3 Spurs teams end up moving. They kind of get up and kind of take a few steps, and they get grabbed and pushed back. But since they broke in that line, because of the no tolerance rule, they were all suspended for a crucial game, and they ended up losing the series. Where all the Spurs did was basically sacrifice Robert Horry and took out like 2 All-Stars for the Suns. So that was a big deal. If that's the one they're talking about, there's another no tolerance rule where basically they had this whole ordeal where players showing emotion, we're just going to tee you up. And that was a big controversy. And it was definitely another one of those that I was wishing he would get to talk, that Tim would have got to talk about more, because it felt like it was definitely directed at more emotional type players. Like Rasheed Wallace was getting fat technicals every day. By the way, speaking of, since we're talking about fights, Carmelo pulling that thing when he like faked hit somebody or swung at somebody and then took off running it all the way across the court. Man, now that I think about that, I actually liked Carmelo more than LeBron and thought he deserved Rookie of the Year more than LeBron, and LeBron got a lot more stuff. But then the trajectory, whatever. Trajectory. I can't pronounce anything. It's late. From that, and then just kind of sold himself out of the Nuggets. I guess he's trying to get to the East, so I can't blame him. I didn't even get to talk about the East and West. I'll talk about it in the show. Anyways, is there any? Let's check and see. Is there anything else in chat that anybody wants to see? Since we're probably gonna wrap this up. This one went definitely a little bit longer. Let's see what we got going on. So, any of you that don't know about Twitch or whatnot, Twitch runs off of a, it's kind of a 30-second delay thing. And so when I say that and I'm waiting here, it's not like, sometimes maybe nobody's saying anything, but also it is a delayed reaction for viewers. We try to have it at least amount, but it's usually at least 10 to 20 seconds, depending on your stream quality and how it works. This is one of the things that Mixer, now that is the new name of Microsoft's streaming service, was trying to implement and try to get over Twitch, was it's no delay, within seconds, whatnot. But yeah, anyways, I think that'll probably be it for this episode, unless I see anything else. But yeah, so this will be probably the episode 20 NBA Matters. This will be released on June 6th. June 7th of 2017. This is kind of pre-recorded because we had already done it, obviously, because we record episodes a week before and give a week to edit and stuff, and I wanted to get more content out for this new thing. This is, I think, episode 5 or something like that, 6 of The Other Side of the Wormhole. Basically, the lost thoughts of the But Why Though, the podcast, what didn't make it in the episode. As always, I'm your host of this, and a host on But Why Though, Matt. I guess I'll say where I'm at before I get to the show. And for that, you can find me on Twitter at DATTM18. Hopefully, like I said, if you want to get involved, fine. But as far as the show, feel free to download us or hit us up. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at But Why Though Podcast or What Why Though PC. You can also feel free to download all our stuff on iTunes. Please rate, review, and subscribe. You can also be found on Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud as well. We have a lot of stuff on SoundCloud. I believe we also have Kate's other project she's working on, Oh My Wednesday, podcast about American gods. If you feel free to check that one out, well, that's on there. This is from Twitch TV. Obviously, this is But Why Though Twitch, or But Why Though Podcast. Twitch TV. Feel free to stop by and either check this out or when we stream games. Drop a follow or something, or hit us up on that. Man, now I see what they talk about, like doing radio and they have to do all the like promo type stuff. Man, I get it now. Anyways, hopefully everybody enjoyed this one. I might make another one on this, only so that way I'm not sitting here you have to sit here for 2 hours. We can try to break it. I'm more of a fan of like do this maybe an hour if that's the max, and then let's cut it, and then I'll just make another one. Y'all can listen some other time. You can find these will be uploaded to the YouTube at But Why Though, also to our website, butwhythoughpodcast.com. Go check it out. We put a lot of work into our website. I enjoy our website, probably more than some of our social media, just because I feel like we put a lot of work into it. We have blogs, The Other Side of the Wormhole, cosplay stuff, episodes, got it all. This one will be up later. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good night.